For most of human history, death didn't happen behind closed doors. It didn't happen quietly, out of sight, managed by strangers in a building you'd never been to before. It happened right there, in the camp. In front of everyone. Someone who was sitting beside the fire with you yesterday was simply gone today. No funeral home, no carefully arranged ceremony, no flowers delivered to a reception hall, just a body, a group of people who loved them, and the impossible question of what you do next. For a long time, scientists assumed ancient humans didn't do much. That grief was something that came later, a luxury of civilized society. That early humans buried their dead for practical reasons, hygiene mostly, and moved on. That the emotional heaviness we attach to death today was a modern development, something that arrived alongside language and cities and writing. Then the ground started telling a different story. In a cave in northern Iraq called Shanidar, researchers found something that quietly rearranged everything we thought we understood about ancient humans. Buried there was a Neanderthal, not just dropped into the earth, but laid carefully on his side, in a deliberate, intentional position. And when scientists analyzed the soil around the body, they found pollen. Dense clusters of pollen from at least 8 different flowering plants. Flowers, someone had gathered flowers and placed them beside this body around 60,000 years ago. Before the first city, before writing, before almost everything we associate with civilization, someone stood over a grave, looked down, and felt something powerful enough to make them go find flowers. That's not survival behavior. You don't gather flowers to stay alive. You don't carefully position a body because it helps you find food tomorrow. That is grief. That is love still running after the person it belonged to is already gone. And it means that hollow, disorienting feeling of losing someone, that isn't a modern experience. It's ancient. It's been part of us since before we were fully us. But what actually happened in the hours and days after someone died? How did ancient humans move through loss when there was no structure to lean on, no grief counselor, no ritual someone else had designed for you to follow? They leaned on each other. That's the honest answer. Anthropologists who've studied modern hunter-gatherer communities, groups whose daily lives most closely mirror how ancient humans actually lived, have found the same pattern almost everywhere they look. When someone dies, people gather. Food gets shared. Stories come out. The person who's gone gets spoken about, remembered out loud, kept present in conversation even after they're no longer there. Grief in small tribal communities was never something you carried privately. It belonged to the whole group. Because losing one person in a world of 30 or 40 people wasn't just personal, it was felt by everyone. Every person represented something that couldn't easily be replaced. A hunter, a healer, a storyteller, someone who remembered the migration routes from 3 winters ago. Some hunter-gatherer groups avoided speaking the name of someone who died for a period after their death. Not out of indifference, out of pain. The name itself carried too much weight to say out loud without it hurting. And then there are the burials. In some ancient sites, archaeologists find bodies buried with objects. Tools, ochre pigment painted carefully onto bones, jewelry, things that mattered. Not placed randomly, chosen deliberately. As if whoever was doing the burying genuinely believed the person might need these things, or simply couldn't let them leave with nothing. One site in Russia called Sungir contains 2 children buried head to head, covered in thousands of tiny ivory beads that would have taken someone hundreds of hours to make by hand. Hundreds of hours. In a world where time and energy were the most precious things you had. Nobody does that for practical reasons. That's heartbreak finding the only language available to it. So here's what all of this is actually saying. That feeling you get when you lose someone, the way the world just keeps moving while you feel completely frozen, that isn't a weakness. It isn't something wrong with you. It's one of the oldest things about being human. Ancient people felt it too. They sat beside fires in the days after losing someone and stared at the space where that person used to be. They didn't know what to do with the silence either, so they gathered flowers. They told stories. They made things with their hands for hours just to feel like they were still doing something for the person they lost. They made sure nobody grieved alone. The rituals look different now. The tools have changed. But the thing underneath all of it, that love that keeps going even after there's nowhere left for it to go, that part hasn't moved at all. It's been sitting at the center of what it means to be human since the very beginning. And honestly, it still is.